Tonight on the ground in Tumbler Ridge, where grief hangs heavy on British Columbia's official day of mourning. The stories of lives lost coming to light during the darkest days.
She just wanted to bring sunshine to everyone and everything she ever touched.
And what we're learning about the Prime Minister's visit. How survivors of the shooting recalled being caught in the chaos.
We knew there was a real situation, and my goal at the time was, I have these 15 kids to get out of here.
I was confused and scared, and I didn't really know what to do.
The haunting moments for teachers and students who heard the gunshots. And online misinformation driving false narratives.
People are going to use this to weaponize hate.
Digging into claims of trans violence and what the research really shows.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina, reporting tonight from Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia.
Good evening. We are coming to you tonight from a small, tight-knit community with a big heart, rocked by one of the worst mass shootings in this country's history. Tonight, a memorial continues to grow behind me as we learn more about the children who will never get to grow old. 12-year-old students Abel Mwansa, Kylie Smith, Zoe Benoit, and Takaria Lampert, 13-year-old Ezekiel Schofield, and 39-year-old teacher Shanda Aviogana Durand. Two other victims were also killed at their home. The suspected shooter's sibling, 11-year-old Emma Jacobs, and their mother, 39-year-old Jennifer Jacobs. Tomorrow, the Prime Minister will be here to stand with the community as it deals with its grief, as will the leader of the opposition and other political leaders. Today, the BC government threw out its traditional throne speech to open a new session of the legislature to focus instead on this community in need.
Today, the people of Tumbler Ridge are wrapped in the care and compassion of an entire province and a country that mourns alongside them.
We have extensive coverage of this story tonight, and we begin with our BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson with a closer look at those victims we showed you just moments ago and how those lives are being remembered tonight.
It's really hard to breathe right now.
Sarah Lampert pushed back tears as she shared the story of her one-of-a-kind daughter, Takara, who Mom called her tiki torch.
She's always been a blazing light in the darkness. And if you didn't manage to see her, you would definitely hear her. She was a tiki torch powered by love.
Takara was killed just 2 months shy of her 13th birthday. Police say the suspect, 18-year-old Jessie Van Roetselaar, killed 5 others at the school before the RCMP say she turned the gun on herself. Among those victims, 13-year-old Ezekiel Schofield, 12-year-old Abel Mwansa, whose family online called him a brave kid with a bright future. 12-year-old Zoe Benoit is being remembered as a resilient, vibrant, and caring little girl. 12-year-old Kylie Smith is described as the light of her family's life. Police say Van Roetselaar also murdered one educator, 39-year-old Shanda Aviogana Durand. 27 others were injured. Police say before going to the school, Van Roetselaar killed her 39-year-old mother, Jennifer Jacobs, and 11-year-old stepbrother Emmett Jacobs at their family home. Community members say the love from all across the country is helping them feel less alone during these dark days.
Thank you, Canada. Thank you, the world. I know that we can all relate to this.
For the families of the victims, healing will take time.
Our family is shattered, and it is going to take immense amounts of time to get through this. Simple things like going and getting in the van and turning around and not having a full head count is going to be hard.
And sometimes the burden of that grief is heaviest in those everyday moments. Andrew Johnson joins me now. We heard from that lady who talked about the outpouring of support coming in from across this nation. To what extent is that helping this community, Andrew?
Omar, I think they're feeling it. I've talked with a few people about this now, even in the throes of despair, like the mom in my story you saw there, Sarah Lampert. They're going online, they're speaking to people across the country who are reaching out, and it's making a difference. It's lightening the load for them. And if there is ever a place that needed the love of an entire nation right now, it's Tumbler Ridge, BC.
It's Tumbler Ridge. Andrew Johnson, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And behind me, a poignant and familiar message of resilience in the wake of such tragedies, the motto Tumbler Ridge Strong on the sign here in the center of town. Some of those who were in the school when the shooting erupted are sharing heart-wrenching tales tonight about what they went through. CTV's Kathy Lee now with their stories of survival.
At this growing memorial in Tumbler Ridge, flowers, candles, and teddy bears mark the loss, soft reminders of the children this community is mourning. And from the chaos of that day, survivors are beginning to speak, including Jarvis Naronia, who was teaching mechanics when a student told him shots had rung out.
We knew there was a real situation, and my goal at the time was, I have these 15 kids to get out of here. I want these 15 kids to be safe.
And in another classroom, 13-year-old Dennis Meehan also recalls gunfire.
I was confused and scared. It went off a few more times, and my teacher realized what was happening, and we had to hide behind her desk.
That kind of protective instinct from Meehan's teacher kicked in for Naronia too. The impact of the tragedy hitting him hard, especially since he had taught the victims just an hour before the shooting. Naronia remembers his student Abul Mawanza, who was so passionate about building wooden cars.
And we finished his little car. Teacher, can you, Mr. Naronia, can you build a little trailer? And yes, and yeah, we put a little. Sorry.
As students and staff cope with their loss, those injured are making progress in the hospital. Social media posts from family reveal 12-year-old Maya Gabala, who was shot in the head while trying to save classmates, kicked and moved her hand. And 19-year-old Paige Hoekstra, who was shot in the chest, is doing well after surgery. Their recovery bringing hope to a community that's deeply hurting and trying to make sense of a senseless tragedy.
I'm just still processing it, and I don't know, I just feel lost.
Such devastating and harrowing stories, Kathy. There's so much that this community is going through. Have the students and teachers even thought about, are they allowing themselves to think about what it's like to go back or what that will look like?
Jarvis, the teacher that you heard in my story, talked about that with me today, because we have to remember here it's not just adults that are trying to cope with it and try to come to terms with this. There are a lot of children involved here, a lot of children, especially the ones that go to the school and they witness whatever they did. It's going to be tough, he says, when they transition back. What is that going to look like? How are they going to be able to do that? And he said, at the end of the day, what this town needs is time. They really just need time to get through this together.
Time and those mental health supports that we've been seeing in the community. Kathy, thank you so much for this tonight. And at the memorial behind me, another teacher has left an especially poignant note among the bouquets of flowers and messages. My babies, it reads, I was very lucky to have you in my life every day since September. You all brought me so much joy to my life that right now I feel I will never get back. I wish I could hear you give me some sass one more time. I wish that I could listen to you answer attendance in those funny voices one more time. Rest in peace, angels. Love, Mrs. H. As the community tries to heal, tough questions remain. How did this happen, and why firearms were returned to a home flagged for mental health concerns? Here's CTV's senior correspondent, Judy Trin.
This is the home of shooter Jesse Van Rutselaar and the starting point of a killing spree. The 18-year-old had an expired gun permit when she killed her mother, Jennifer Jacobs, and a younger brother. The RCMP say they were called to the home multiple times.
Some of those calls were related to mental health issues.
At the second crime scene, police recovered a long gun and a modified handgun from the school.
Very few people living in rural communities appreciate the extent to which having guns in the home with the mentally ill youth is a risk.
On Facebook, Jacobs posted this photo of 6 long guns in 2024. She wrote, "It's time to take them out for target practice." Police say they had previously seized weapons from the house, but later returned them to the owner.
I can say that at a later point in time, the lawful owner of those firearms petitioned for those firearms to be returned.
In cases where mental health issues arise, police can seek a court order to ban the possession of guns for public safety.
The question is, why was the prohibition application, which was begun by the seizure, why was that not followed through?
To get the guns back, owners would have to go to court. Police have not said why they gave back the firearms.
This should be information that is readily available to the public, and it should be information that we can look at, because it's only with sort of that information can we see if mistakes were made.
Police say they are continuing their investigation, but statistics do show that there is a higher rate of violent crime involving guns in rural communities than in cities. Omar.
All right, Judy, thank you. There has been a lot of talk online tying the shooter's gender identity to the tragedy, all of it playing into a narrative harmful to the transgender community. CTV's Heather Wright explores that side of the story.
As news of Tuesday's school shooting in Tumbler Ridge broke and details began to emerge, Dee McWaters says her heart sank for the victims, for their families, and for the transgender community.
It was like, oh no. You know what? People are going to use this to weaponize hate.
Even before the shooter's identity was confirmed by police, people were taking to the internet with allegations that gender identity was to blame. There is an epidemic of transgender violence spreading across the West, BC MLA Tara Armstrong wrote on X. Elon Musk also shared a number of tweets claiming that trans people are more likely to carry out mass shootings. Armstrong has not responded to our request for comment, but for members of the trans community, there is a worry these statements will lead to further marginalization.
This has nothing to do with ideologies, politics, being transgender. It's a mental health issue.
And according to statistics, mass shooters who identify as transgender are rare.
I think it's a product of the information environment that we're in. So when a shooter is transgender, that becomes the headline and that becomes the story.
James Densley is a co-founder of the Violence Project, which tracks mass shootings in the United States, defined as 4 or more people shot and killed. He says they have just one incident in their database, a 2023 school shooting in Nashville, involving a shooter that identified as transgender. Densley says linking trans identity with violence is an extension of other ways the trans community has been demonized.
There's been a lot of conversations about transgender people's role in society, their access to care, for instance, their access to bathrooms. This is an extension of that line of thinking.
According to a number of studies, transgender people are more likely to be victims of violence themselves, with instances of transgender hate crimes on the rise. Omar.
Heather, thank you. Authorities have revealed they visited the home of the suspected shooter in the past on a mental health call, and that has some people calling for better supports in Tumbler Ridge and beyond. Here's CTV's Adrian Gabriel.
As the flicker of a flame sheds light on the darkest of weeks, a Canadian community has been left to hold each other up, with some beginning to question if this senseless tragedy could have been prevented.
Police had attended that residence on multiple occasions over the past several years, dealing with concerns of mental health with respect to our suspect.
Police revealing they'd previously apprehended suspected shooter Jesse Van Rooselaar under the Mental Health Act.
It's certainly not ideal for police to be providing mental health support or mental health care, and really that responsibility isn't fair to them either.
Located at the foothills of the Rockies in northeastern British Columbia, Tumbler Ridge is home to roughly 2,400 people. The town has its own medical center, though with limited in-person mental health support. In January, BC announced it was expanding its Foundry centers that offer support to those between the age of 12 and 24, though the closest Foundry center to Tumbler Ridge is in Prince George, roughly 4 hours away.
We know that virtual supports can be provided, but they're not adequate. We really need mental health and well-being supports to be situated in the community.
The Tumbler Ridge suspect identified as a female and was a member of the LGBTQ+ community. Police say it's unclear if she was currently undergoing any psychiatric therapy. This 2015 court ruling denied Van Rooselaar's mother's request to move her children to the East Coast, A section states that these children have led an almost nomadic life, with multiple moves over the last 5 years between Newfoundland, Grand Cache, and Powell River, British Columbia. For now, this community brought together in tragedy have been left with far more questions than answers. BC's Premier has vowed to do whatever is necessary to ensure a similar tragedy never happens again. One psychologist believes a positive first step would be ensuring some of the mental health support currently now in Tumbler Ridge remains there for the long term. Omar.
Adrian, thank you. And a reminder, there are supports out there for anyone dealing with mental health issues, including Kids Help Phone and the 988 National Hotline. Coming up.
Hearing the gunshots, that keeps playing on in my head.
What one survivor told me she is still haunted by. A symbolic victory for Canada now that U.S. lawmakers have backed a resolution to end Donald Trump's so-called fentanyl tariffs on Canada. That won't make the tariffs go away, but as CTV's Rachel Aiello reports, there may still be a silver lining.
The joint resolution is passed.
By a vote of 219 to 211, the U.S. House passed a resolution to repeal President Donald Trump's so-called fentanyl tariffs levied last year, citing border security. These 6 House Republicans breaking ranks to join the Democrats in backing the move.
This is the right vote for my district. These tariffs are hurting them, and again, that certainly weighed in my vote on this.
Well, I've got to represent my district, and Canada and the state of Washington have very close trading relationship. It's valuable.
And while largely symbolic, it's a sign some Republican support for Trump's use of emergency powers is slipping.
I think it's an early indication that over the course of the next 6 months, we're going to see a little more month-by-month erosion in the support for the president among the Republican caucus, both in the House and the Senate.
Defending his trade agenda, Trump said any Republican in the House or the Senate that votes against tariffs will seriously suffer the consequences.
I'm disappointed in the vote, but the president has veto power.
The resolution now goes to the Senate, but without the 2/3 majority needed to override Trump's expected veto, the tariff policy won't change.
So it's a good step, but it's a small step.
Still, experts say it positions Canada better heading into the CUSMA review.
I think it actually gives Canada a little bit of additional negotiating power, right? But it just highlights to the president and to the U.S. administration that Canada has allies here.
The U.S. Supreme Court is separately weighing whether Trump can continue to use these emergency tariff powers. Omar?
All right, Rachel, thank you. Still ahead. Why this helmet cost an athlete a chance at Olympic glory. Canada has picked up 2 silver medals and a bronze in competition at the Winter Olympics today. But while Canada celebrates, a Ukrainian athlete is making headlines for being tossed from competition over his helmet. CTV's Garrett Barry explains.
A helmet of remembrance depicting fellow athletes and coaches that have been killed since Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been a political issue clouding Olympic officials in Milan all week.
I said it for 3 days. I'm proud to have said it for 3 days because I'm proud of this organization.
This morning, despite a last-minute effort to find a compromise, Vladislav Haraskevich refused to change course and was disqualified by sport officials. The IOC says wearing the helmet amounts to messaging or an expression, and while speaking in press conferences or outside venues is allowed, expressions are banned in every case on the field of play.
Once we start taking stands against wars and conflicts, there is no end. There is no end. And this leads into partly why we have these guidelines, is because if we start reflecting all of those conflicts in the world on the sporting field, there will be no sport.
We asked 3 Canadian sliders during training runs today what they thought of the disqualification, and while they wished the athlete and Ukraine well, they said they were focused on their own competitions. Garrett Barry, CTV News, Milan.
Still ahead, how a student here in Tumbler Ridge is remembering a victim and a friend. Earlier this evening, I spoke to Amy Lynn Kettelapper, a grade 12 student who was inside the school during the shooting, and what she did to survive.
Can you take me back to that moment? What it was like, what you heard?
I was in a class and I heard the first couple of shots. It might have been 4 or 5. Bang, 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 bang. And then it paused for a minute and then started back up again. A couple more shots. And then it kind of went quiet. That's when we kind of closed the doors, you know. And we hid against the back wall at first, but then later switched to behind my teacher's desk, where we stayed for the next like 2.5 hours.
Did you know what was going on in those moments?
Not really, no. Like we knew that something bad had happened. We heard our principal shouting, "Lock down the school, lock down the school." I heard her say to, I'm assuming another student, "Get inside the class now." And then we heard the alarm for the lockdown go off. I hadn't actually heard it in person before. Every other time during drills and stuff, it was just lockdown, 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 and then Mrs. Green, all clear, all clear, all clear. But yeah.
You lost somebody you knew well. He was only 12 years old. What do you want people to remember about him?
He was a bright kid, you know? Sweetest guy imaginable. He lit up everyone's world. He was very driven. Yeah. He was 12. And at the end of the day, even though there's a lot of controversy surrounding the lady who shot him, at the end of the day, people died, and that's inexcusable.
As I'm looking into your eyes right now, there's still shock, disbelief. It's a small town, as you know, 2,400 people. Everybody knows one another. How do you begin to move forward after such a horrific incident?
I'm not really sure. It's gonna be a while before anyone's really sure. I'm sure of it. Yeah, I'm not really sure about that.
Amy Lynn, we are thinking of you, we're praying for you, and sending you a lot of strength. Thank you for speaking with me.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my thank you to Amy Lynn for speaking with me during a time of such enormous grief. That is it for us tonight here in Tumbler Ridge. We'll be back here again tomorrow for all of us at CTV National News. Thank you for watching, and good night.